Hey Bickies, how's it going? It's Tara. I hope you're all great. Happy Halloween. I had to put those on, I just thought they were brilliant. What do you think? Woo. I hope you're all great today. It's Wednesday, 11 o'clock. The Biscuit Box is live. We're going to dive into some Q&A this morning. Um, did I scare ye? Oh, I love Halloween. Any excuse to dress up, lads. Any excuse. And so I'm going to wait for a few people to join me on today's session. As I mentioned, it's a Q&A session this morning. So we're going to talk about a question that Claire put to the community in Bite the Biscuit. And Claire is in Bite the Biscuit, and she posted this question, which I'm gonna tell you all about now in a second. But first, if you're new to Biscuit and this is your first time watching the Biscuit Box, welcome. My name is Tara, and if you're wondering what Bite the Biscuit is, it's our free community to support and to support each other as creatives in business, to network, to purchase from each other, to collaborate. It's a great hub for creative minds. It's called Bite the Biscuit. If you're not in there, I advise you to get your ass over there because there's great stuff happening. It's really motivational, inspirational, and a good place to be. So I'll leave the link in the comment box below this live stream. If you're not already a Biscuit in the community, hop right in and you'll be welcomed over there. So that is that. This morning we're going to talk about your target audience and who you should be selling to. And this was prompted by a question that was put into the group, and I do a Q&A post and people can ask their questions, so I will address them on these live streams once a week, 11 o'clock, the Biscuit Box. Jeannie Mac, I nearly lost my breath. So Claire asks, I'm at the very beginning of building a life coaching practice and wondering how I can identify potential clients and reach them. Brilliant question. On that note, I think every question is a brilliant question. Every question is fantastic. Why? Because you're curious, you want to learn, whether it feels like a stupid question or it feels like a pretty good question. They're all tarnished with the same brush. Questions are positive things. So please ask them. That's how we learn and grow as individuals and business owners. So, who's in with me this morning? Hey, Bonita, how's it going? Hey, Danielle Doody. All right, girl. Hey, Claire, how's it going? There's a few people in. Well, I'm glad that you're here. Now, just before we dive into this, if you guys want to, and this is for people watching the replay as well, if you guys want to get notified of the Biscuit Box and when we go live, like if you forget, I know what it's like, busy minds, let alone busy computers and all the different social media platforms that we're plugged into and all the different people we follow. But if you want to get notified of the Biscuit Box when we go live, if you just type number 7 into the comment box, we'll subscribe you to the show so you don't have to think about it. Facebook will tell you when we go live. So it'll take that pain away. We have enough to remember. Jeannie, it'll drive you bonkers trying to remember all the things. So just type 7 into the comment box and that will look after that for you. Okay, so let's dive in. Who here is starting a business? If you're watching the replay, please let me know. And I'd love to also know, whoever's watching, are you at the very beginning of your business, or are you growing your business, or are you trying to expand or really go big with your business? What stage are you at? Or are you just at thought stage? You're just thinking about, how can I create a business around my creative work? What does that look like? How can I start? And it's a minefield, and like I've been there so many times and it is a minefield, but it's not impossible, and it once you plug into the correct resources, and get the support, and I cannot emphasize enough how important the support element is, then anything is possible. Yes, that dream that you think about, that you look out the window and daydream of, that is possible. So just to keep that in mind, that nothing is impossible. You just have to focus in on what you actually really want. Okay, so let's dive into this question. So Claire's at the beginning of a life coaching practice, and she wants to identify her potential clients and reach them. So there's a few things there. When you're starting a business, and especially a business like life coaching, and I'm in the coaching mentoring space as well, so this is quite relevant to what I do. And the first thing that I think everybody should focus in on is, why in the first place are you choosing to become a life coach? Why are you choosing to become a life coach, or whatever that thing that you're thinking of? What is the passion for that choice? Or what are the experiences that you have had that has led you to that train of thought or to that choice? And it's really important to identify that for many, many reasons. But for this specific question, you need to initially, anyway, when you're trying to find an audience for your life coaching business, Claire, you need to figure out a niche target market. You need to zone in on a small number of people that are the same, that have the same desires, the same wants, and use that like a testing ground for your life coaching skills. Now, why I started with asking you why you are doing life coaching in the very first place, well, that impacts very directly to who you should actually pick, what type of person you should pick for that niche segment of the market. Let me put this into a narrative for you. When I started helping people with their businesses, I started at a very young age because I was running businesses myself from the age of 19. So as I was successful with what I was doing, people started to come to me to ask me, Jeannie Mac, how are you doing this? Like, you know, this is really working for you. Can you help me with what I'm doing? Yeah, cool. You know, that, of course, like, I'd be happy to. And so the journey took me along a line of naturally helping people in the same space as me. And this led me to figure out, okay, I want to help people in a more structured way, not via just my successful businesses, but as an entity in itself, which means I want to be a business coach or a business mentor, and that's what I do today. But when you're looking at that niche market, or who you should be selling to, or that potential client, what tends to happen is, Claire, and you're probably sitting there going, okay, I'm a life coach now. Well, everybody needs life coaching, right? How am I going to find, like, where do I start? So look back at you. What has happened to you? What's your experience? Have you worked in corporate and got burnt out and needed time out to reassess your whole life and start again? Obviously, you're a woman. Is that who you should be focusing in on? Corporate women that have been burnt out, just like your experience, that need help with figuring out what they want to do with their lives. Why does that make sense? Because you've gone through that journey and you have specific skills and specific experience because you've been through the process. So when you reach out to people, especially initially when you have no clients and you're trying to understand and you're trying to build up a clientele, when people say to you, oh, hey, Claire, how's it going? So, oh, you're a life coach. Cool. So what type of life coaching do you do? If you're a generic life coach, you're going to be firefighting that message, firstly, but also when people plug in and talk to you and you're giving them your experience and what you've done previously. If you, as we have just mentioned, I completely made that up, Claire. I don't know if you've been burnt out from corporate. I'm just making an example. But if you have had that experience and you decide, oh, I'm talking to someone that's just about to leave school that wants to get life coaching because they're unsure of their path for college, or should they go into the workforce or whatever, you're not going to really resonate with them because that's not your backstory. That's not your experience. That's not, how can you connect with that target audience when you have had no experience of that? So the very first point I would say to you, Claire, is, oh, you're there, Claire. Hey, Claire, how's it going? Thanks for the question. That's a great question. So the very first point, and I don't know where you're sitting on this yet, the very first point of a starting point is to look at you as an individual and why you have chosen life coaching and what your experiences have been to get you to that point. And from that information, then you look at a niche target audience, a niche market that you can plug into to actually learn to sit down and do a research session. If you can, go to networking events where those type of people will be, and really understand in a niche, I don't know what the word, like, what's that? A niche bowl of people, where they sit and how you're going to interact with them. And that's when you start testing out your offering, because life coaching, and I find this as well, when I began, there's shitloads of business coaches and life coaches and mentors, and like, it's a very, very busy landscape. So what is it about you and what you're putting out to the world? What's your angle, and what group of people does that make sense to? So Claire, I'd love to, if you've any questions, you just bounce them off me if you want. And I'd ask everybody to think about that when you're building a business first. Generic messages, and I am a jewelry designer, I am an artist, I am an author, I make videos. That's very generic, lads. Like, so how are you going to stand out in a very busy marketplace if you have a generic business model or you're trying to sell to everybody? Forget it. You can do that when you have traction in your business and you have built a brand, and then you can expand who you sell to, for sure. But when you're starting out, you have to zone in on a niche amount of people, a demographic that has all the same desires, wants, and frustrations that you can actually learn from and start doing business with and research. And the biggest bit of advice I can give to you is, when you're at networking events or when you're researching this target audience, listening is the biggest bit of armor that you have in your business. Listen. Never assume what your target audience need, want, or have a desire for. You need to ask the questions and listen. So listening is very, very important. On the listening note, has anybody got any questions or comments or any feedback on what I've just said? Again, if you want to subscribe to the Biscuit Box Live, just type 7 in the comments and Facebook will tell you when we go live. So this is really, really important. And Claire, I'd love to know where you're sitting right now in your business. Have you actually started trading? Have you had some clients? And what I would say to you is that when you're starting out and when you're figuring out who you should be selling to, there's a real incubation period of figuring that out. And I remember when I started doing what I do first, I worked with a lot of different clients to figure out the type of businesses that I would want to work with. My background is hospitality, so I worked with lots of restaurants and pubs and cafes and food places, because that's what the businesses that I have ran. But I didn't really want to focus just in on that. So it's a lot of, that incubation period is a lot of testing. It's a lot of, deciding who you want to work with and who you really don't want to work with. And that's the same if you're selling products as well, not just a service like a coaching service. It's important to test, and we had a conversation over in the Biscuit Factory recently about this, and I know a lot of you guys go to craft fairs and different types of shows to sell your work, and I know that it is super frustrating and it's so soul destroying when you go to a market and nobody buys your product or nobody engages with you and what you do, and you're sitting there like a spare spanner going, I am crap, I need to go and get a job, I can't do this, nobody likes what I do. And the default, especially for creative people, is I am not good enough, I am not creative enough, I am not talented enough, I have fecked the whole thing up again. When the reality is you're in the wrong place. Your messaging is wrong. You're talking to the wrong people. You're trying to sell to the wrong people. And that is exciting, because I know 80% of you guys have had that experience and have, ran back into the studio and put your head into a bucket of methylated spirits and enjoyed it. And and that's the reality of, I can't go on, I'm just going to hibernate now and just create in my lovely, comfortable, safe space. Going out there is too difficult, I'll just make this up now, when actually the reality is something quite different. So in order for that not to happen, I recommend, before you decide to do a craft fair or a show, you have to be very, very ready, and you have to have an idea of who your target audience or market is. Or if you're testing, that in your mind, you really focus and you really understand this is a testing period. There's no expectations of selling out, of being a household name in the area because you did a craft fair and you want everyone to buy your stuff and tell you how wonderful you are. Yes, of course we want that. And how amazing that is when it happens, and it will happen. But the reality is, unless you test, and get the information or the data, that, it's another word, if you hear that word being rocking around, that's what it means. The information from who's engaging with you and what they're talking about, and the questions that you're asking people about your offering, that is gold when you're starting. Absolutely gold. So I'd love to know in the comment box, even if you're watching the replay, at what stage of your business you're at, and have you really thought about your ideal client? And I've experienced a lot of other business coaches and mentors bang on about this, saying how ideal client is not, that's not really, like I always say, to make that avatar, to have an ideal client avatar. What's an avatar? An avatar is just like that you're talking to a person rather than a whole group of people, and you're building that personality around that makey-uppy person. And when you're starting off, the challenge is you have no reference point for that makey-uppy person, so it's really your imagination, right? But testing and going out and talking to people and seeing what type of person has purchased from you or has engaged with you to maybe talk about working with you, there is always a link between people like that. And what you'll find is, if you position your offering that has a direct link to you, because people buy from you. They want a bit of you, not just the product or service, right? Creative work is about the creator. And Claire, even life coaching, how intimate is that? Like, I work really closely with my clients in the Biscuit Factory, and you build relationships with people, and it's you that people want. They want a bit of you. So when you're prospecting or trying to find those potential clients, if you or your experience or your beliefs or your work ethic, who you are as a person has no relevance to the type of life coaching that you're offering, there's going to be a huge gap there, and you'll find it very difficult to build a really solid brand around your life coaching practice. So that is my tuppence, Claire. I hope I answered your question okay. Please hit me with any questions in the comment box if you want to continue the conversation further. And again, on the replay gang, if anyone wants to subscribe to the Biscuit Box every Wednesday at 11, just type 7 in the comments below. I'm getting all snazzy with the whole Facebook botty things. Whole new world. Sure, isn't it brilliant? We have to plug ourselves into what technology can enable us to do. Okay, that's it for today. Happy Halloween. I'm just going to put on my glasses before I say good luck. There's no questions. You're all very quiet this morning. La-la! Ding, 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 ding. Actually, earlier one of them just popped out, and I was trying to frantically push it back in before I went on live. So that's my is that a very boring costume? Like, I'm very late, but I have a wig as well, so that's the best I can do, Bickies. Okay, have a great Halloween, and hit me with any questions in the comment box. I reply to every single comment and question, so please hit me with any question at all. And I'm going to leave a link in here as well if you do want to ask a question for one of the live streams every Wednesday at 11. I'm happy to pick them up and talk to you directly on our live streams for Q&A Wednesday. Okay, keep creative. Talk to you. Bye.